became extremely frustrated at a certain point because what I realized was that there wasn't enough. We didn't have enough help. We weren't. I didn't. There just wasn't enough, and I ended up splitting away from the organization I was working for and starting my own organization, which is the Organization for Prostitution Survivors. And just to go back a little bit, I was one of those kids that was kicked out, that was unfortunately caught up with a pimp for a number of years and was down in LA for a number of years. And anyway, so I have a little bit of history with this whole situation we have going on here, and it's nothing new. This has been going on forever, like Lois, you can talk about back in the 70s, you know. This has been going on a long time, and so anyway, I started the Organization for Prostitution Survivors, and we do not have an age limit on who we work with, because I also do a diversion program for the city of Seattle up here that is for women who are arrested for prostitution that are over 18 that have to go to this class to get the charges taken off. So anyway, after a number of years of doing that, I realized there's actually nothing for them either. So we don't have an age limit, and unfortunately for some of us, we were not around when trafficking was a big deal and people cared. So we ended up staying in the life for a really long time, and a lot of the women that I worked with back as a youth are still out there, and yes, they were trafficked as youth. Does it matter now to anybody? No, because they're over 18. Okay, so that's one of the things that we work on. I personally am a direct service worker. I work with the people. I work with the girls on the streets. I work with the girls everywhere. I work with women everywhere. We do advocacy. We do case management. We do 2 drop-ins a week for, I think they're about 7 hours long. Women can come in. We have dinners. We all sit down. We have dinner together. We do art. We use a lot of art with the women and the girls. We do an arts workshop on Saturdays where many, many women and girls have come and become a part of the group and come every Saturday and do art and get support from other women who can identify and understand what they've been through. And it's also what I've noticed very good for the youth as well to understand how this can end. And see, some people, because nobody ever plans on becoming strung out and being on the track and selling themselves for $10,
Sure.
But, that's kind of how it ends, if you don't die or, do something else and end up in prison. But, so we do the art workshops, we do the drop-ins, we do all kinds of different programs. We do art exhibits with the women's art, and they sell their art. They get all the money for their art. We don't take any of their money. We pay survivors stipends to start getting more involved in the community that we've began to get here in Seattle, of women who are trying to get out of the life, girls who are trying to get out of the life or are out of the life. And so with a community, I think it's very important that they have, a community of people who understand and who also they can talk to and call and get it, it's just like, AA or NA, it's a community of people who are trying to get, trying to recover, And so I think that that's super, super important because it's very hard to do this alone, and it's very hard to do this just with a program that you went through, or, you need people to communicate with after you have completed a program or whatever. You need your people. And so what I do... So, there's a lot that we are very small. I'm going to start by saying that. We are very small. We are not well funded. and we are trying to get the funding to do more of the work. Obviously, we need to hire a lot more people because I cannot be the only survivor out here running around doing all of this. And my partner, the other co-founder, Peter Qualutine, who actually designed the first program here is the Men's Accountability Program. So what's happening here is the men are being arrested, Johns, whatever you want to call them, are being arrested, and they are being put through this 10-week program that he teaches himself, that he created, and actually it's 10 weeks, so they have to come, every week for 3 hours, and we have gotten some really, really, really good feedback and results from this program. The men, I think, start to really, really understand what is happening within them that is causing them to go and act out the way that they are.
I see.
So, we do a lot of on the ground work. I mean, we're just really out there, out and about. If meeting with people where they're at, helping people get into treatment, helping people get into mental health facilities, helping people get into programs, different programs that are available. Back when I was working a lot with youth, I did send some girls to Children of the Night, and I'm probably pretty sure that's still happening since there's no youth program here right now, or housing program.
There's no youth housing program in the city of Seattle?
There is no youth, but there is no specific, for this specific population, there's no, there's no program, like a house they can go live in and go through a program. There was for a while, and there's not now. So I think that there may be some things in the works around that. But we've always it's always a good idea sometimes to send girls and women to other states, sometimes, to get them completely out of what they're used to, get them away, get them, they don't have the temptation to run to the track or the temptation to run into, whatever it may be, the drugs or whatever, sometimes it's really, really good for them to just start fresh somewhere else.
Noel, how much is drug addiction a factor?
Well, from what I have personally seen, the game has changed immensely since back when, I am meeting, so most of the women who are older eventually, end up on, heroin or something, because their lives have been nothing but trauma, abuse, and torture since they've been youth, right? What I'm finding now with the youth, and this wasn't so much before, is that they're actually, before it was more weed and some drinking and stuff like that, but what I'm finding out is that we have a lot more youth addicted to heroin, meth. Mostly heroin and meth, I would say, are the main two drugs that I deal with youth. And, that pretty much, if once they get into an addiction like that and they're already out there, it's really hard because there's so many steps that you have to take to get them out of there if they want to get out of there, right? So there's so many, first they need detox, they need treatment, they need all these other things, and, then possibly a program dealing with the trauma and the issues. So I have noticed a huge, at least up here in Seattle, and I'm sure everywhere else, but I've seen a huge amount of youth that are addicted to heroin at this point, way younger. Yeah. So, I mean, this is the thing, is that people, I work with kids who they don't even know what pills they take to go turn a trick. It's like, I have a girl tells me, I just take this little blue pill and then I go do it. Okay, well, the little blue pill is probably a Valium, right? So, it's like they're taking the medication, they're self-medicating themselves to deal with what they have to do to survive.
How closely does your organization work with Seattle Police, for example, or maybe prosecutors in King County? Do you work fairly close with them, or is that just something that, well, perhaps you don't even want to touch upon that during the program? I'll leave that up to you. But is that a question that you can answer?
I will say this: the Men's Accountability Program is set up with King County, and with the prosecutor Val Ritchie, is tied to this. I don't really work on that end of the program. I work with just survivors. And when so I don't really. I mean, I can call. I have detectives I can call, at any moment if I need help with any youth.
These are detectives that are familiar with you, who that you trust and they trust you. Is that correct?
Oh yeah. We've known each other for years, and they're the special. They used to be called the Special Victims Unit. I think they're called something else now up here. But anyway, they're just a certain amount of detectives that just do this work, and so I can call and get help very quickly. Very quickly. They take this stuff real serious.
Good. Well, they should.
So that's good.
Well, we're going to move on. Before we do, there's a lot of things about you and your website, your organization, that impressed me. But there's a statement on your website that you offer services to individuals in and out of the life. No judgment, only support. That very much impressed me, and I feel that the other organizations that are on our program today, they pretty much do or feel the same way. But I think that is so important. No judgment.
Well, there can't be, because the minute you judge, the minute that girl or that woman feels any judgment from you, she's out. I mean, these women and these girls, they have a very good intuition. Trust me, they've been jumping in and out of cars with people who might kill them. They've been, I mean, they know, they're very intuitive. And if they feel any kind of judgment, and I know this for myself today, if I feel any kind of judgment, I don't want to deal with you.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So I mean, it's just not. It's it's just a non-issue with us.
Well, Noel, I hope you stay on the line if you can. Before we move on, I want the audience to know that your website, www.seattleops.com. I urge people to go to that website. Thank you, Noel. And our last guest for today's program is Sophia Sanders. She's the Director of Programs and Operations for Stolen Youth. Hello, Sophia, and welcome to On the Line.
Hello. Thank you so much. Happy to be here.
It's our pleasure. Can you tell me, give the audience some info about your organization, what you folks do, what your background is?
Yeah, of course. Stolen Youth was founded about 3 years ago, but our story is probably about 5 years old. And it started in a global context with 12 women in Seattle who were community leaders and philanthropists who invested in a movie called Sold and went to India on a learning trip to learn more about child trafficking in India and Nepal, and met with many organizations that were saving lives day in and day out. They came back to Seattle, and they were inspired to do more. And they thought, well, let's look at what's happening in our own backyard. And I think, Lois and Noel have touched on it. It's not that this is a new problem, but for a long time it was in the shadows, and a long time people were not facing it every day except for the service providers on the streets and the trafficked youth themselves. And so they began 2 years of research, meeting with experts and national and local experts, police officers, service providers, organizations and individuals alike. And they realized through the course of that, one, they were never going to be experts on this. They were never going to be service providers. And that, two, the problem was severe in Seattle. You mentioned 500 girls and boys in a year can be bought and sold, and we think that that's underreported. And it's going on in every neighborhood. It's going on in every different type of school that you can think of, and it's prevalent. And so in the course of those 2 years, these women realized that what the community needed was actually more advocacy and more funds for service providers who were doing the work time and time again. As Noel mentioned, funds sort of went away after it became a hot